Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in on another cold day as we continue to see the snow lingering. Cold temperatures, but with a nice sunny day today, I think we'll probably see a lot of it go away. Here's what we're going to cover today. An aircraft that made multiple stops in Russia, being described as a Russian cargo plane typically used to transfer military equipment, was seen landing at a military airfield in Cuba on Sunday night. We have a full report for you. Authorities in Arizona have revealed that the mother of NBC Today co-host Savannah Guthrie was probably kidnapped from her home as investigators continue to search for the missing 84-year-old woman. Bill and Hillary Clinton are caving, saying that they'll report to the House Oversight Committee. James Comer, the chairman, made the demand, saying that they must testify before his panel about their relationships with deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his convicted accomplices. South Carolina GOP Chairman Drew McKissick joins us about a recent Fox News poll that doesn't appear to be good news for Republicans, but Chairman McKissick says it's way too early to tell. We got a lot to cover. Let's get started.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Authorities in Arizona have revealed that the mother of NBC Today co-host Savannah Guthrie was most likely kidnapped. Nancy Guthrie was last seen Saturday evening at her residence near East Skyline Drive, in North Tucson, around 9:30 p.m., according to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. A spokesperson for the sheriff's office said Sheriff Chris Nanos, has stated that he believes that a crime has been committed. At this point, investigators believe she was taken from the home against her will, and that includes possible kidnapping or abduction. Evidence also suggests that Nancy Guthrie was harmed as she was being taken. A relative of Guthrie is contacted by authorities around noon on Sunday to say that she was missing after she did not show up for church. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos had this to say.
She did not leave on her own. We know that. We don't see this as a search mission as much as we do a crime scene. We need her back. We need to find her. And time is very critical. She is 84. She needs her meds. Her family needs her too.
The sheriff told reporters at the scene that the house and some of what they found there has raised a lot of concerns. He says, this is very concerning to us. We don't typically get the sheriff out at a scene like this, but it's very concerning what we're learning from the house, and so we'll just continue. The detectives' homicide team is out looking at the scene and uncovering every single thing they can. Yesterday afternoon, Sheriff Nanos told reporters also that investigators had found what he described multiple times as a crime scene, not just an abduction or a missing person. Now, authorities initially launched a search and rescue mission for Nancy Guthrie. Sheriff Nanos added that it has been shut down, saying we don't see this as a search mission as much as we do a crime scene. Again, using that word crime scene. Nanos also revealed that Miss Guthrie has physical ailments that limit her mobility, but is of good sound mind and requires medication that could be fatal if not taken within 24 hours. In a statement released to NBC's Today, Savannah Guthrie thanked investigators while calling for the public's help in finding her mother, saying, "On behalf of our family, I want to thank everyone for the thoughts, prayers, and messages of support. Right now, our focus remains on the safe return of our dear mom. We thank law enforcement for their hard work on this case and encourage anyone with information to contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department." So I have to be tough. I don't agree with a whole lot of what Savannah Guthrie says a lot of times, but I don't wish harm on anyone, and particularly Miss Guthrie's mom. What just happened in Cuba is not a random blip on a flight tracker. Anyone telling you otherwise isn't paying attention. Now, you may say, well, what's going on? What are you talking about? Late Sunday night, a Russian cargo plane, the kind used to move military hardware, not tourists or medical supplies, touched down at a Cuban military airfield about 30 miles south of Havana. Now, again, wasn't just any plane. This was a Russian, I think they called it a Illusion 76, operated by Aviacon, a state-linked airline that's been sanctioned by the United States, Canada, and Ukraine for directly supporting Russia's defense sector. According to U.S. Treasury, this airline has shipped rockets, warheads, and helicopter parts all over the world. Now, the plane landed at San Antonio de Balas, a Cuban military installation. Now, here's where this stops being coincidence. The same aircraft flew into Venezuela in late October, right before U.S. military action that ended with Mr. Maduro being captured. U.S. officials and analysts have since said those flights were a warning sign, a signal flare. And now that same signal is flashing over Cuba. Flight records show the plane hopped from St. Petersburg through other parts of Russia, then through the Dominican Republic, before landing in Cuba. Every one of those stops required host national approval, meaning several governments knowingly allowed a Russian military-linked aircraft to transit their airspace despite Western sanctions. That alone should get Washington's attention, which I think it did. But here's a much broader look at this, if you will. This Russian move comes as President Trump has dramatically escalated pressure on Havana. Now think about it. Just days ago, the president declared a national emergency related to Cuba, calling the Cuban government an unusual and extraordinary threat to U.S. national security. The whole area has been heightened since the operation in Venezuela. Now, what the president said is really not diplomatic language. It is kind of a flashing red warning light. The administration announced penalties for any country that supplies oil to Cuba without U.S. authorization, cutting off one of the last economic lifelines keeping the Cuban regime afloat. And President Trump confirmed something else, kind of raised eyebrows across the intelligence community. The U.S. is now engaged in direct talks with Cuban officials. It's not coincidence that all this is taking place, all this is happening. The president said bluntly that Cuba is, quote, ready to fall. Pointing out that Venezuela no longer exists as its financial crutch, he said the U.S. is talking with the highest people in Cuba and hinted a deal may be coming. Now ask yourself this. If you're the Cuban regime staring down economic collapse, you got U.S. pressure, you got internal unrest, who do you call? Moscow. Russia has a long history with Cuba, going back to the Cold War. While the Soviet footprint faded from the 1990s, Moscow has quietly rebuilt defense and intelligence cooperations with Havana over the past decade, according to sources. Washington has warned repeatedly. Renewed Russian military activity in Cuba is a serious security concern because, let's remember, it's only 90 miles from Florida. That's a hop, skip, and jump, as we say. So this particular aircraft, it can carry 50 tons of cargo, 200 personnel, we're told. In Venezuela, Russian officials admitted it delivered air defense systems, different types of missile platforms. So, do we know what it carried into Cuba? Well, not exactly. We can speculate. It's uncertainty. Now, layer this on top, though, of another critical detail. Marco Rubio has emerged as one of the most influential figures in the Trump foreign policy inner circle, especially after the Venezuela operation. Rubio has been crystal clear for years about Cuba, Venezuela, and Russian influence in the Western Hemisphere. This administration is not operating blind. So when a sanctioned Russian military transport plane lands at a Cuban airfield right as President Trump turns up the heat, history tells us this may not be accidental or coincidental. It's either reassurance to the Cuban regime or a hedge against what might be coming next. I'll let you decide. What do you think? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Joey Hudson here. You tried keto, paleo, Weight Watchers, intermittent fasting. You lose weight, then it comes right back. You blame yourself, your willpower, your discipline. But here's the truth. It was never about willpower. There's one thing that determines whether your body burns fat or stores it, and if you don't fix that first, every diet will fail. At PhD Weight Loss, they identify that one thing and they build a plan that works with your body, not against it. And if you call now, you're going to get 2 weeks free in the program, and they'll pay for your food so you can finally see real answers without more trial and error. If you've done the yo-yo dieting and want clarity, call PhD Weight Loss now and mention Joey Hudson. No more guessing, just answers. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Say Joey Hudson. That's 864-644-1900. Also find them online at myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com. Do it once and for all. Lose the weight the right way by calling PhD Weight Loss today. For weeks now, we've watched the chaos unfold in Minneapolis and other parts of Minnesota, but primarily St. Paul, Minneapolis. We've seen the demonstrators on the street corners going into the churches and all of the, again, chaos. That's just a great adjective to describe Minneapolis. Well, there's always the he said, she said. There's always the stories of what the ICE agents have done. I've never quite understood myself, and as someone who I've been close with various law enforcement agencies for many years, been very supportive. I've never understood why all of these federal officers don't have body cam so that they can tell you exactly what happened. For example, I mean, if they had all had body cam when Mr. Preddy was killed, we would have a clear description of what exactly happened there. So yesterday, Secretary Kristi Noem of the Department of Homeland Security, of course, made a call that a lot of us have been asking for. You've seen in the conservative movement, Republicans, quietly, reasonably, they're not screaming into the cable news channels, but just questioning or asking the question, why aren't they wearing body cameras? Why don't we have every federal officer in the field with body cameras? Well, it appears that's what's going to happen. Not because body cameras are some political talking point, but because Minneapolis has become ground zero for controversy, misinformation, and just outright accusations against federal law enforcement doing their jobs. Secretary Noem did not hide behind a committee. She didn't do a poll or anything like that. She didn't put out a task force. She just recognized what has to be done, and she's doing it. She said that she spoke directly with Tom Holman, ICE leadership, Customs and Border Protection, and then she made the decision. Her message was simple. We're deploying cameras now. We're expanding nationwide as fast as funding allows, and we're doing it in the most transparent administration in American history. Now, here's the key point that the mainstream media keeps missing. Body cameras protect law enforcement just as much as they protect the public. I'm all for body cameras. There's no reason for a law enforcement officer anywhere not to have a body camera, unless you know otherwise. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Help me out. I mean, is there a reason, and if you're in law enforcement, I'd love to hear from you, is there a reason, though, that law enforcement should not be wearing body cam? What's the downside? By the way, when you go to MyPillow.com, always use promo code Joey. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. They want to thank you for what you did in 2025, so they're giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing at the same time. For example, when you use promo code Joey at MyPillow.com, you're going to get the classic MyPillows. They're regularly not $49.98. They're only $17.98 now when you use promo code Joey. Turn any mattress into the best mattress you've ever had. If you've been thinking about buying a new bed, don't. Just get the MyPillow mattress topper. You can save up to $100 with my name. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98, or the 6-pack towel set that I love, $39.98. Get the best possible deals on any product at MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4059 when you use promo code Joey. Order now, and your entire order ships absolutely free. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. So back to this body cam thing. President Trump made the point yesterday when asked about the decision. He too said body cameras are beneficial for law enforcement. He said about 80% good, in his words, because they document what actually happens. And he made it also clear that it was Secretary Noem's decision to deploy them.
Kristi Noem just announced that you're deploying body cameras to Minneapolis. What's your thinking behind this decision, and do you want to see this?
Well, it wasn't my decision. I would have, I leave it to her. They generally tend to be good for law enforcement because people can't lie about what's happening. So it's generally speaking, I think 80% good for law enforcement. But if she wants to do that, I'm okay with it. Remember one thing: we closed the border. I got elected on a disastrous border, and we have nobody coming in through our border anymore. We had 25 million people come in 4 years through our border. Many of them were murderers and drug dealers and mentally insane from mental institutions and insane asylums. And now we don't have anybody coming in. For 9 months now, they actually report zero. We have 0 people coming in, which I find hard to believe, but the Democrats do that report. They tend to be left-leaning that do that report. So I assume it's true. And if it's not, it's a very tiny amount of people. But we basically have a tremendously perfect, strong border. And also crime levels are at the lowest point they've been in 125 years. Since 1900, we have the best numbers. And that's despite the fact that we had a lot of criminals and murderers. 11,888 murderers came in. And we have the lowest numbers that we've had in 125 years. So, we're doing a good job. If she wants to do the camera thing, that's okay with me.
As it should be okay, and I would imagine that anybody, again, I don't know of a reason why you would not support the use of body cameras. We've seen what happens when there is body camera footage and when there isn't. In Minneapolis, CBP officers involved in several activities there had some footage available. We did have some limited footage, even with the Alex Preddy, because a couple of the CBP officers were wearing body cameras. We haven't seen all that yet, but eventually it'll come out. But in a separate case, the killing of Renee Good by an ICE agent, the officer was not wearing a body camera according to the reports as we know it right now. Immediately, the speculation started. Accusations started. The narrative filled the vacuum. And it's not fair to the public. It's certainly not fair to the officer involved. And again, maybe we learn otherwise at somewhere down the road after the investigation is completed. But what we've been told to date is that ICE officer did not have body cam on. Why? Why did he not? Now, this uneven rollout across federal agencies has been a problem for years, we're told. ICE has been moving towards body-worn cameras, but not every unit, not every team, not even every operation has them yet. Again, I don't know why. When something goes wrong, or even when it doesn't, those gaps become political weapons if you don't have that body cam. Secretary Noem is cutting through that. She's saying, if you're going to criticize federal law enforcement, then let's put the facts on the table. Let the video speak for itself. Let the truth be seen. And notice something else here. It's not about backing down. This isn't about apologizing for enforcing the law. Secretary Noem ended her announcement with 3 words that say everything. Make America safe again. That's exactly what President Trump has promised the nation. We're going to make America safe again. he closed the borders. We have virtually zero crossings now. That only makes every one of us, our communities, safer than they were before. Now, it brings us to the politics swirling around in Minnesota. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has been loudly critical, of course, of ICE operations, both he and Mayor Jacob Frey, to the point that they have just openly, proudly said, ICE, leave. Get out of Minneapolis. Get out of Minnesota. The governor is raising concerns about taxpayer dollars, optics, enforcement tactics. He loves to question. He loves to be that armchair quarterback. Secretary Noem, of course, has fired back, essentially saying, you're worried about the dollars, but not the chaos, not the fraud. So Tim Walz is worried about what we're spending on ICE operations, maybe because he thinks that's taken away from what's going to be spent in the fraudulent daycare centers in his own state. The administration has made it clear. Trump says federal law will be enforced. Borders matter. Immigration law matters. And the officers carrying out those laws deserve clarity, protection, and support, and those body cams will help do all of that. Body cameras provide all three of those. They deter bad behavior on both sides, the officers and the people they're interacting with. They expose false claims. They protect officers from politically motivated attacks. And let's be honest, many of the loudest critics of ICE suddenly get real quiet when we see video evidence, right? It's not an accident. Now, will this solve every problem overnight? Nope, not going to. Will it stop activists protesting against ICE? Nope, not going to calm them down, probably. Will it stop cable news from selectively framing incidents? Probably not on that either. But it's a major step in the right direction. And when we have some of these future episodes and we have video to watch from the officer standpoint, it's got to help in some way. You agree? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Well, it appears that Bill and Hillary Clinton caved yesterday to House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer's demand that they testify before his panel about their relationships with deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Representative James Walkinshaw, a Democrat from Virginia, said during a House Rules Committee on Comer's push to force a vote holding the president and first lady in contempt of Congress, he said, I understand that the Clintons have agreed to appear for depositions and have agreed to the terms that you laid out in your most recent letter. So I guess he was kind of holding that back rather than and having it ready in case the committee proceeded with a vote. A spokesperson for Bill Clinton appeared to confirm the development. Anhil Urena wrote on X, they negotiated in good faith. You did not. They told you under oath what they know, but you don't care. But the former president and former Secretary of State will be there. She added, they look forward to setting a precedent that applies to everyone. So I guess they finally have admitted that they're not above the law. The Clintons indicated they would appear for depositions on mutually agreeable dates and asked that the House scrap a contempt vote expected to take place possibly tomorrow, according to New York Times. Now, 9 Democrats on the oversight panel previously voted with Republicans in support of holding Bill Clinton in contempt, while 3 Democrats backed holding Hillary Clinton in contempt. I mean, it looked like it was a bipartisan effort to hold the Clintons accountable for once. Both defied Comer's subpoena for months. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, publicly skipping respective deadlines to provide the panel with depositions. Mr. Comer appeared skeptical of the Clintons' latest offer. He said in a statement, the Clintons' counsel has said they agree to terms, but those terms lack clarity yet again, and they have provided no dates for their depositions. He went on to say the only reason they have said they agree to terms is because the House has moved forward with contempt. I will clarify the terms they are agreeing to and then discuss next steps with my committee members. Now, the way this kind of unfolded yesterday was earlier in the day, Mr. Comer had rejected an offer from the Clintons proposing a, quote, limitation on the scope of President Clinton's testimony and a sworn declaration from the former Secretary of State in lieu of depositions. Comer argued Clinton's desire for, quote, special treatment is both frustrating and an affront to the American people's desire for transparency, and said having the former president testify for only 4 hours, as his lawyer had requested, would not be enough. The Clintons' attorney emailed the new offer while Mr. Comer was testifying in the middle of the Rules Committee meeting. The House Rules Committee took a break shortly after it learned of the new letter to give Comer some time to reassess whether a contempt vote was still necessary. Now, keep in mind, the Clintons were first issued the subpoenas for testimony by Mr. Comer August the 5th, 2025, nearly 6 months ago. Looks like we're going to get to see the Bill and Hillary show after all. News out of South Carolina: Republican states have dropped their challenge to a 2024 federal rule adding gender dysphoria to federally protected disabilities. Why is Attorney General Alan Wilson and other GOP attorneys general doing this? Well, the Trump administration is doing exactly what their lawsuit sought. In a statement, the Attorney General of South Carolina said South Carolina is pulling out of the lawsuit, giving the reason that the Trump administration is accomplishing what the lawsuit would have accomplished through a rulemaking decision. Now, South Carolina was among 17 Republican-led states challenging the Biden administration's rule change as overstepping the intent of a half-century law. The GOP lawsuit was filed in Texas in September of 2024, 4 months after the Joe Biden issued its changes. Disability rights advocates opposed the lawsuit. They argued it could jeopardize the entire section of law that protects people with disabilities from discrimination. They're known as Section 504 protections, as per the section of the Federal Rehabilitation Act of 1973. In a joint status report last year, this was amid the public backlash, the GOP attorneys general clarified they weren't trying to take away Section 504 accommodations. And under the Trump administration, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported that it would not consider gender dysphoria, defined as the distress a person feels when their gender identity doesn't match how they look, as a disability, which is just common sense. This led to South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson's statement saying, "Our sole intention is the original lawsuit was to remove gender identity disorders and restore Section 504 to what Congress passed originally, so our work is done here." Now, Able SC, a group that advocates for the rights of people with disabilities, praised Attorney General Wilson's withdrawal from the lawsuit, calling the original legal challenge deadly to people with disabilities. Section 504 bars any group receiving federal funding as hospitals, like hospitals and schools, from discriminating against anyone with a disability. For example, that means a hospital can't deny a person with a disability an organ transplant just because they have that disability. Able SC said in their statement, by stepping away, South Carolina made the responsible decision not to participate in an effort that would weaken disability civil rights. The case went on hold in February of last year, soon after President Trump took office, as the attorneys general waited for promised changes in the rule, clarified that they were not looking to overturn the entire section, but just the inclusion of gender dysphoria. It looks like that President Trump is going to be able to accomplish that. Mr. Wilson said, "We never asked the court to throw out Section 504. We were challenging the Biden administration trying to force states to adopt woke gender ideology by trying to attach it to Section 504 as a condition for federal funding." Along with South Carolina, other states dropped out of the case as well. Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Iowa, Nebraska, Utah, West Virginia, according to the court filings. 9 of the original 17 states are still pursuing the lawsuit, though, like Texas, Alaska, Florida, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Montana, South Dakota, according to the filings as well. The continuing lawsuit seeks to overturn a requirement in the Biden administration's rule change that says people with disabilities who receive federal aid, including government-funded health insurance, can't be institutionalized or placed in a home or program where they can't interact with people without disabilities. The remaining states argued that would be impossible in some cases, such as when people with disabilities require specialized care that costs the state, which costs the states millions and millions of dollars. Again, I think we accomplish what we all would think is common sense. And that's gender dysphoria is not a disability. It's troublesome for people who are in that situation, but it should not qualify them to become disabled and collect federal benefits for the rest of their life. You agree? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line as well, 864-477-JOEY. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. On our guest line, Drew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party. Well, happy snow day.
Happy snow days to you as well.
Wow, what a winter wonderland we've had over the weekend and into this week. And look, they told us it was coming, and it did. I mean, I think we got about 6 inches where I live in Greer. So, look, the kids love it because they haven't had to go to school. I think they're doing e-learning or whatever. But it's February, so I guess we should expect maybe a little snow every now and then.
Well, we get a little bit of the white stuff. I mean, if it snows here in Columbia, though, it's snowing pretty much everywhere else around the state. But we got about 4 inches here, so that's our kind of once-in-a-decade snowstorm. So
yes,
we've checked that off the list now.
Yeah. Well, Speaker Johnson said on Meet the Press that the partial shutdown would probably end maybe by Tuesday. Do you think most Americans even know that we're in a partial shutdown? I mean, it's almost like we've done this so many times, we don't even pay attention anymore.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. If we didn't have the media to tell you that there was a shutdown going on, I doubt very seriously 99 out of 100 people would know. Either because, one, of course, as you know, this is not the entire government shutting down. This is relative to just a few specific government departments that they're finalizing, the budget bills for those departments, spending bills. And, of course, all because Democrats disagree over whether or not we ought to enforce our nation's immigration laws.
Right.
And they'll want to narrow this down to having a discussion over funding for ICE over the course of the next 2 weeks and try to demand that they not do their job as adequately as they've been doing it for the last year, which, as we know, has resulted in 2.5 million fewer illegal immigrants in this country over the last year.
Yeah. And the interesting part of that, and I want to talk a minute about the Fox News poll that was released over the weekend. There were some of the issues that they talk with people about that Republicans are now losing to Democrats on. But the one issue they're not is immigration. The American people still want immigration and enforcement. In that Fox News poll, when you ask people about immigration, border security, and enforcement of that, Republicans are leading by 15 points.
Yeah, and look, and that's one of the issues that we know, say, top three, and depending on which day of the week the questions were asked, over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, was economy, immigration, and crime in different orders on different days. But those are the top three. Are still, as I understand it, pretty much the top three.
Yep.
And, that's an issue where Donald Trump is taking definitive action. We know that we closed the southern border. That's one thing. You're not letting them in. Now it's the job of getting them to either self-deport or find the ones that you can find, especially the criminals, and physically deport them, and to the tune of just about 2.5 million total over the course of last year. And then the positive effects that people are beginning to feel because of that. By the way, and that translates not just to just immigration as an issue itself, but that issue, of course, affects crime. What have we seen now? The lowest crime numbers in, I want to say it was decades. I've several different reports about this, but, just like murder rates down tremendously. Obviously, that's impacted by moving criminal illegal aliens out of the system because you have so much recidivism, because it's like a revolving door in so many cities. And then you also have the effect on the economy, by way of, let's say, rent. Housing is cheaper. Why? Because you have 2.5 million fewer people occupying housing in this country now. So it ripples all through society and the economy.
Yep. Even with some of the good numbers that we saw on some of those issues, the concerning part for me, though, is that according to Fox, on a generic congressional ballot, Democrats are leading 52-46 in midterm elections. How do we overcome that?
That's a function of time. I mean, so the economy obviously is at the top, I believe, in terms of, when you get to the elections and folks voting their pocketbook. And, we've seen a lot of good news coming, about the economy over the course of the last year. We've seen inflation come way down. I think the last number was like 2.5%, and it could actually even be lower than that. We'll see updated numbers here soon. And then to what we're talking about when it comes to jobs, and that goes back to this illegal immigrant issue that we just talked about. How many people who are native-born Americans, blue-collar workers especially, have replaced those illegal immigrants who were doing blue-collar jobs who have now moved out of the country? So you don't necessarily have a lot more jobs in that sense, but you have more native-born Americans actually occupying those jobs. And then you move forward with things like the tax cuts and the big, beautiful bill last year when people get tax refunds this coming April. On throughout the course of the year, if things stay on the track that they're on right now, that's going to be good for the economy and good for how people perceive the economy and it being relevant to them. And I would say, that from the political standpoint, the only additional factor you need in that is the administration doing more over the course of the year to talk about what they're doing and what they plan to do and what they've done. I mean, obviously, the presidency is affected so much by the inbox, and it's an international inbox. Things happen. There are events you have to respond to, but you can't let that keep you from spending time at least talking about aspirationally and in terms of results about what you're doing on the economy. And that's a function, again, of time over the course of the coming campaign.
Yeah. South Carolina GOP Chairman Drew McKissick is on our guest line today. So let's talk about those midterms. It's February, so we're going to be having those candidates start filing and start the process here. Give us some the timeline here. When does filing open?
The filing will open in mid-March. I think it's March 16th, I believe, is a Monday. That's when it'll open, and it'll run through the end of March. Mm-hmm. That's when candidates will actually file. So they can say that they're running, forever and a day, but until you actually fill out a filing form and pay that filing fee, you're not official. And we'll wait and see how many of them put their name on the line and write a filing check. And here in South Carolina, that's 1% of salary. So, for the term of the office they're running for, it's a pretty significant check, especially for statewide and federal offices and a lot of countywide offices. So we'll see who's really serious, how many candidates jump out there. We've got a big governor's primary coming up, as you know. We've got 5 candidates who say they're running. We'll be doing gubernatorial debates, as you and I have discussed. We've got 4 of them will be coming up in March, April, May, and June. Looking forward to that. But, this is a big cycle for us because you have all the statewide offices. I think 5 are open in this cycle, which is the first time we've had that I think since 2010 with this many open statewide seats for Republicans, plus 2 open congressional seats, the 5th and the 1st. And then a lot of, local races all around the state. This is the big cycle for us in terms of local county level races. So it's a lot going on. And, people have a lot of opportunities to meet the candidates, talk to them, get their opinions, and find out more about them, get involved with their campaigns, and get involved with the party at the local level.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a busy year, an exciting year politically for sure. and we'll be right in there in the middle of it the whole time. So Drew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party, is always a pleasure. Appreciate your time today.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, man.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.